evening and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, India's first and only daily show dedicated to startups, technology and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra Shrikant coming to you live from India Startup Capital, Bengaluru, and we kick off the show then with a big development that's coming in the fintech space. Because you've just seen a big announcement coming on a collaboration between RIL, that's Mukesh Ambani owned RIL, and State Bank of India. Now remember, both of them had entered into a joint venture a few months back to set up the Jio payments back. This was a 70-30 joint venture then, and today they have deepened that relationship by announcing a collaboration between YONO, which is SBI's digital platform, and Reliance's Jio platform, which is essentially their commerce and tech offering. So as a result of this, what they've really said, or what I could make out from the initial statement, is that SBI customers stand to gain some special services if they are on Jio with respect to financial services, with respect to shopping, with respect to discount points. And this is important because fintech is one of the fastest growing areas. If you look at the startup ecosystem, UPI has given it a huge edge. Wallets are gaining ground in tier 2, tier 3 cities. You combine that with Jio's reach as far as data is concerned and SBI's reach as far as customers are concerned, it could be a big combination. And remember, everyone today is talking about the market that's beyond the first 100 million users, which is India 2 and India 3, which is basically India over and above, the urban centers. So if both of them come together, it could be a game changer. But SBI is also saying that this is not an exclusive partnership with Jio, but it will be a preferred partner. For more perspective on this, let me get on this show someone who understands the fintech space very well. Sanjay Swamy of Prime Venture Partners joins us on the phone line. Sanjay, thank you so much. Great to have you on Startup Central. Your initial thoughts, Sanjay, I mean, is this just another partnership? Does it have potential for something more? What's your take on this?
Hi, Chandra. Thanks for having me on the show. Obviously, we've just seen the press announcement, so it's still early to see how this will pan out in the market. But I think, the importance of digital banking is very clear to everyone, including specifically all the large banks. And over the last few years, we've seen several initiatives starting with DBS and then with Kotak 811 and so on. I think as everybody has seen, marketing and advertising and distribution costs are really high in the sector. So in that sense, it's clever from SBI's part to partner with a large telecom operator because they get the distribution reach of the telco and are able to provide services, hopefully, to the masses. India is still a heavily underbanked country, and while, banking has reached everyone in terms of bank accounts, utilization of the bank accounts has been still, a challenge. So I think giving people more opportunities to open bank accounts digitally, but more importantly, to be able to transact digitally with their bank accounts, as well as, not just from a payments perspective, but also from the perspective of, applying for loans, being able to receive a smaller value loan, etc. This is what will define whether, this initiative is successful or not. There have been in the past several attempts of telcos partnering with banks, both in India and around the world, and they have had, very limited success in the past. However, I think we are now in a world where people have accepted digital as a core part of the growth strategy. In the past, it was probably more an experiment. So I'm hopeful that, this will lead to something solid, but, the details will emerge over time.
Right. And, what does this mean for incumbents, Sanjay? Because if you look at fintech today, it's being attacked by players, using very specific approaches. So Paytm started out as a digital wallet, then they they are on UPI, and then they have a payments bank. If you look at PhonePe, they started out with UPI, and then you have a Jio, which not only has the front end sorted, but they also have the back end. It's almost become like an end-to-end ecosystem. They provide connectivity, they onboard customers, and then they bring in an SBI, which already is the largest bank in India, to offer these customers shopping and loans and, you know, credit and just everything. How can startups really compete with a Jio that has the ecosystem sorted out end to end?
So definitely, you know, it's not meant to be easy. That's always been the case because the stakes are very high, the opportunity is huge. The fact of the matter, however, is that less than 5% of transactions are digital today, and there is a massive road ahead of us and a massive opportunity. So, you know, I think that's the reason why large players are entering this space, is because the opportunity and the prize is really large. That being said, financial services and fintech, nowhere in the world do you have a winner takes all, and certainly not in India. You know, the regulator is very clear that, you know, we will live in a world of interoperability. We will not have closed loop systems here. So even our payment systems with UPI and, you know, or even with the card networks has always been an interoperable philosophy. So I think it's great for large players to distribute, but it's also clear that the startups will have to find niches that they can serve better, and will have to differentiate their products and services, you know, rather than offering commodity services. So I think the fact that two large players have come together, and I suspect we'll see more such announcements in future between other large players, that will drive, you know, the education and the reach of digital solutions to the market, and everybody will win, including the new startups.
Right. Last couple of questions, Sanjay. Just want to understand, you know, is this also a sign that banks are not going to disappear overnight? The fear with digital banking was, you know, some of the traditional banks will become irrelevant. But we are seeing private sector banks and public sector banks find new ways to innovate, you know, whether it's investment in apps or through MoUs like these. And considering, you know, they already have deep pockets, they already have a loyal base of customers, are we going to see them coexist along with the new players? How is this going to pan out? I know you said that, you know, it's not a winner take all, but how is this going to work out?
So while it's not going to be a winner takes all, I do expect that there will be some consolidation that will happen, because this is a completely new opportunity, right? As I mentioned again, we are heavily underbanked, and in terms of digital transactions, it's less than 5%, which means the big opportunity is in front of us, not behind us. So while the incumbents do have a running start, sometimes that can even slow you down. So what SBI has done here to try to partner with the telco and bring banking at telecom scale, that's not necessarily something that everybody will be able to execute on successfully. So I fully expect that banks that are not able to react to this, whether it's partnership with telcos or partnership with fintech startups or what have you, will be in trouble. And, you know, this is sort of a warning shot for those who have not yet made their serious moves, that they need to start moving now, right? I think the key thing to take away is the time is now to start acting, if you're not yet. But we are seeing, you know, a lot of the other banks as well partnering with different kinds of players. And, so large banks will continue to be successful, but several of them will struggle if they don't act fast.
On that note, Sanjay, thank you so much for joining us on this leg of Startup Central. It's important to really analyze this on what impact this is going to have on existing startups, if this is going to be a big differentiator in the fintech space. As Sanjay says, you know, we will have to wait and see on what exactly they are going to achieve, how they will execute it. But away from that, to another piece of important news, and this time it's on WhatsApp. Not on fake news or payments, but it looks like WhatsApp is finally ready to start making money in India. Now, in India and the world, basically. Now, remember, so far, WhatsApp hasn't been monetized in terms of ads in other ways, but now they have launched a dedicated service targeted at businesses. So this is going to be the first revenue generating product from WhatsApp that's going to launch in India. As a result of this, enterprises will be able to directly interact with customers using WhatsApp. This is of course going to be a paid service, and they're going to offer business APIs for enterprises to use. Some of the companies that have already been onboarded include Make My Trip, as well as Zendex. So I guess next time you book a flight on Make My Trip, or you have a flight that's being rescheduled, you could just get an alert on WhatsApp instead of SMSs that we are seeing now. So this is going to be interesting because, as I said, it's WhatsApp's first attempt really to monetize its business, and India is one of its biggest markets, so huge potential there in terms of how this is going to go going forward. But on that note, I'm afraid it's time for a break on this edition of Startup Central. Take a break and come back, because we have a very special voice on the other side of Startup Central. That's PhonePe's Sameer Nigam telling us about why PhonePe is the top UPI player on the Google Play Store and how he has an edge over rivals. They claim that they've even beaten Paytm and Google Pays as far as the UPI space is concerned. Stay tuned and come back for more on Startup Central. Welcome back to ET Now Startup Central, and as promised, a big voice from the fintech space. This time UPI player PhonePe, which is owned by Flipkart. Now they claim that they've overtaken Google Pays as well as Paytm in terms of the number of transactions that they've seen on UPI. My colleague Rahul Dama caught up with PhonePe's co-founder Sameer Nigam to just find out how he's backing this claim and why PhonePe has an edge over Paytm all of a sudden. Listen in to what Sameer Nigam had to say.
Our growth has been fueled by the fact that for the first time, we opened up peer-to-peer transaction-based offers. We've talked about this in the past, that structurally for the industry, incentivizing peer-to-peer transactions does not really improve the ecosystem. But we were tired of sort of seeing competition continuously talk about how large the volumes have become. And we've known for a while that we have the largest base of consumers on UPI. So in July, for the first time, we opened up the network and we started saying if you do 10 transactions or 20 transactions to other consumers with linked bank accounts, that you'll get some small sort of incentive. So that really sort of supercharged our base, and we went from 55 million to almost 110 million transactions this month. So that's what's caused our growth. As far as the NPCI part is concerned, we'd highlighted several months back that we believe that a bunch of these transactions on UPI were essentially shell transactions where the underlying bank account of the sender and the receiver were the same. And it's a bold move on their part. They've acknowledged it and they've basically like wiped these transactions out. And I think structurally that is really, really good for the market, because the reason UPI is awesome is because it's a 2017 technology stack which allows you to do tons of incredibly good things. The success rates are better, it's a personalized PIN. And we want to see the use cases grow. All right.
But Sameer, you spoke about the shell transactions that NPCI sort of has kept out from the numbers this time. But we've largely seen a minor dip as far as the UPI transactions in July are concerned. Talk to us a little more about these single account holder transactions to and fro, and how that has really impacted the numbers this time.
So if you see our numbers from June at about 55 million for UPI, if we've jumped up by 40 million, but UPI overall is degrown by 10 million, that tells you about 50 million transactions month over month have been wiped out. That wipeout has happened because people are not able to account for these transactions anymore, right? So that's the basic math, which is what we've been saying all along, that a very large number of these transactions were not real transactions.
All right. But Flipkart has a lot of these base effect come from Flipkart. They had a big bang sale in the middle of July. So are you seeing a lot of them really come by from the Flipkart platform? Because that's something that a lot of us think that, probably the Flipkart base is also sort of helping you grow at a good growth rate.
No, we've said this before. Flipkart accounts for less than 1% of our transactions today. If you do napkin math, if they're doing, say, 500,000 transactions a day even, and a lot of those are COD, the total number of transactions Flipkart does overall in prepaid We are a fraction of that because they have their own instruments, they have their own payment gateway. So Flipkart contributes less than 1.5 million transactions a month for us.
So is this not really a big...
Nothing. 1.5 million out of 110, 115 million transactions. It's a percent or less.
So going by, the focus areas as you move ahead, also at a time when, talk to us about WhatsApp payment, that has been deferred, is that a welcome move? Because initially a lot of players spoke about how they were also sort of gaming the system, ensuring, it's a closed loop for people really using UPI. And the fact that today they've come out with WhatsApp business really and, the plans that they have for UPI through that way, what do you make of the move?
See, as a consumer, I would actually have liked to see them come in. I've said this before. They have a very large base. I think it would be good to have more people sort of solving for digital payments. Our limited objection when they had come out with the beta was in terms of the compliance. That I believe they've solved a large part of it. Beyond that, I don't have a point of view. There'd be one more player in the ecosystem, the more the merrier. It's such a small market right now. I don't want to say that we won the market because we kept people out of the market. You want to win the market as an entrepreneur because you created the best product in the best ecosystem.
All right. But how sustainable is this sort of a growth, going ahead? Are you confident that this is, these are the sort of numbers that you can put up with UPI 2, which will shortly be announced, with that growth sort of coming in? Are you confident that, you will, is this a 1 month off affair really for PhonePe?
See, I think the P2P offers, as I mentioned, we wanted to just demonstrate that.
Would you continue that in terms of?
We may not, actually, as I said. I think every once in a while is good to stimulate the base, but structurally, if it's not something even consumers are themselves looking for. The convenience itself of being able to send money instantly is enough. You don't need to actually incentivize it. So this may be a one-off. But UPI 2.0, I was very excited about mandates. I'm looking forward to things like remittances opening up on UPI. There's a lot of really, really incredible innovation at the network level. And if that happens, then companies like us can innovate on top for merchant use cases, category use cases. I think those are the areas of focus. So I think growth is sustainable. Growth without incentive is something that is sustainable if the innovation continues, and that's what you really want to see.
But that's not something that you'd increasingly look at in terms of incentivizing the entire thing. That's not something that you'd do for a long haul, really.
Definitely not on the P2P side. I think on the merchant side, the incentives are typically limited to first in category transaction. That's fair. I mean, asking somebody to actually pay in the offline market the first time using a bank account or asking somebody to pay for a taxi ride, I think that's fair play. That's marketing in my mind. Trying to do it continuously, in my mind, is just trying to actually create sort of this big story, and I don't think we're about big stories. We want to actually create value.
All right. Lastly, in terms of UPI 2.0, that is, a lot of them players have also raised concerns about how it would be implemented. Speculations that that you have the card mafia sort of also ensuring that it's not as free and open as the UPI platform now is. So do those concerns stand? We'll have to of course wait for what really comes out. But what are your really big concerns?
To be honest, this is the first time hearing about the card mafias or anybody. No, I think it actually came down to a fair concern. I think the regulator wanted to be convinced that fraud limits can be controlled if mandates are really opened up. Obviously, again, as a product company, we are disappointed because you could open up so many use cases to make consumers' lives easier. And I'm sure that if there's enough sort of consumer feedback and fintech companies actually taking sort of the feedback to the regulator, I'm hopeful that they'll open UPI 2.0 with e-mandates, at least in a limited manner, so that we can demonstrate that this is really good for the consumer.
Welcome back, and time to end the show on a very positive note. This is a Rise with India story because an Indian origin mathematician has been awarded the prestigious Fields Medal, which remember is the Nobel Prize for Mathematics. Now this has gone to Professor Akshay Venkatesh, who teaches at Stanford University. Now he was born in Delhi, but he grew up in Australia and is now teaching at Stanford. So every country is really claiming him as his own. He's currently 36 years old and he's been awarded this medal for a wide range of contributions to the field of mathematics. Now just to tell you about the Fields Medal, it is, considered the Nobel Prize for Mathematics. The only other Indian origin winner of the Fields Medal a few years back was Professor Manjul Bhargava. Now, the other common thread between Akshay Venkatesh and Manjul Bhargava is that both of them had won the Infosys Prize as well. Infosys Science Foundation has a special prize for mathematics, which both of them won. That's Akshay Venkatesh for you. So he moved to Perth, Australia. He's won medals in physics, maths at ages 12. I think we have a mistake there. It says 12 and 12. He's also graduated with first class honors in maths at age 16, and he earned his PhD at the age of 20. Oh my God, I guess we have a prodigy here who's won the Fields Medal. In some ways, Professor Akshay Venkatesh reminds me of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory with all those credentials, a PhD at the age of 20. But I don't know if he's as eccentric as how Sheldon comes across in Big Bang Theory is. But on that positive note, thank you so much for watching Startup Central. One more Indian origin person to be proud of, someone that everyone can take inspiration from. But thanks for watching Startup Central. Stay tuned to the channel for more news and updates.